We're going to get things started. Melissa Aguayo is here to give us a little update on TrashBlitz, but she's with the Gyres Institute, and if you're not familiar with them, visit 5gyres.org. I had the privilege of serving on their board, and they're an amazing group of people who are championing awareness of plastic pollution. But please welcome Melissa Aguayo.
All right, good morning, everybody. I know y'all had your coffee. Good morning, everybody. All right, if you haven't, it's right outside. So once again, my name is Melissa Aguayo. I'm the Advocacy and Education Director at the Gyres Institute, and I'm really excited to tell you about our upcoming community science project, TrashBlitz, which aims to take a plastic pollution footprint of a city or region using community science. So before I get into the what and the when, I wanted to share a little bit about the why and a little bit about the work that we do at the Gyres Institute. Who here is not familiar with the work that we do? Has not heard of Gyres? Okay, so there's a few of us. So for those of you who haven't heard of us, we are dedicated to empowering action against the global health crisis of plastic pollution through science, education, advocacy, and adventure, which refers to our expeditions, where we've gone out to the middle of the Pacific and studied this problem up close. I have some notes because usually I have my slides that I can reference, but I only have this one. So it's a really exciting time to be doing this work right now, right? Plastic pollution awareness is at an all-time high, which is really exciting. People are starting to become more and more aware of the problem. I think even just 10 years ago, if most of us would have been in this room, people would have just started hearing about this. It had just kind of started entering the public consciousness. In fact, I remember the first time I heard about the garbage island, right? The garbage patch. I was at Heel the Bay, and I heard about this island that was twice the size of Texas, and it was floating out in the middle of the ocean, and I just remember being so outraged. Why isn't anybody going in and cleaning it up? Well, now we know that that storyline can actually be a little harmful to the narrative because it sends this idea that cleanup is the answer, that we can continue with our habits as long as we go in and clean it up or as long as we continue to recycle. We know that that's not the case. So even though awareness is growing, so is plastic consumption and plastic production. Plastic production is expected to increase by 40% over the next decade. I think most of us are familiar with that statistic, right? By 2050, there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean. It's a very widely used statistic. As a mother of two and someone who has dedicated her life to protecting the ocean, that is unacceptable. And so the time to make changes is now. So not just our organization, but the movement as a whole has really moved towards upstream solutions. How do we target these things at the source to prevent them from ever making their way into the ocean? By the time they make their way out there, it's too late. The plastic starts to degrade, it starts to break up, but never completely going away. We now know that plastic can also absorb toxins and leach those back out into that marine life, which can then end up on our dinner plate. Right? So there's those health impacts that we're learning more and more about. So how do we slow down the tap? How do we stop it or slow it down? And again, it really comes down to those upstream solutions. So our ethos at Gyres is science to solutions. How do we use science? How do we use data to drive those upstream solutions? And it was this line of thinking that led us to TrashBlitz. So TrashBlitz is a truly radically collaborative program, and we have brought in over 25 organizations to come aboard, some of which are in the room today, like the Bay Foundation, Surfrider, Plastic Pollution Coalition, who was here yesterday, and others as well, including Greenpeace, Heal the Bay, and many others. And what we're doing is we're trying to discover the city's plastic pollution footprint by identifying the top polluting items and the top polluting brands whenever that information is available. So it's launching in the city of Los Angeles. We have two big days of action, April 20th and May 11th, where we will be, April 20th is focusing on our downstream sampling. So we'll be at beaches, we'll be at rivers, and then May 11th is really focusing on upstream. So we'll be at parks and rivers, at parks and schools and inland communities. And we also have a really strong study design in place. So we worked with a modeler and have 120 sites all throughout the city of Los Angeles where we'll be doing this sampling. It works out to 8 sites per council district. So we made sure that it was randomly selected to eliminate bias, to make sure that we had a really strong, robust data set. Our partners are gonna go out in between April 20th and May 11th to capture all that information. And what's really exciting is that we're not just gonna be along the beaches and rivers like I mentioned, but we're really gonna be sampling in all the different in all the different compartments. So we'll be in residential areas, we'll be in industrial areas, we'll be in those open spaces like parks. And we're capturing all this information to really get an accurate representation of what is the low-hanging fruit here. What are the things that we can tackle pretty easily? What are some of the things that keep coming up again and again? And what are the brands that are responsible for this as well, right? Let's talk about that extended producer responsibility. I love Recup so much because they are working so hard to close that loop, right? And that's exactly the kind of behavior that we want to see happening in the market. So one of the other pieces that's important, obviously the data is super important. And again, we have a really strong study design in place, but it's also the engagement. So by moving this conversation inland, we're really hoping to bring in some of those communities that have been a little bit left out of that plastic pollution conversation. I grew up in La Puente, which is inland, and a lot of the times I didn't really understand the impact that I had on the ocean or that the ocean had on me. We know that we're all connected through the watershed, right? So whatever someone is using inland or on the beach, it's all making its way out there one way or another. So we're really hoping that this engagement will continue, not just on those days of action on April 20th and May 11th, but once we've gathered all that data, we're gonna crunch, analyze, and we're gonna share it back to the community in a solution summit, where we're inviting back all the stakeholders, all the participants, the partners, legislators. Once we've analyzed and crunched all that data, we're gonna come up with solutions together that are data-driven and community-driven. So I invite you all to join us. You can visit our website, trashblitz.org, or text TrashBlitz to the number 52886. Super, super easy. Come out. There's 3 of those days that you can plug in. April 20th or May 11th for the data collection, and then early June for the Solution Summit. And if you're listening and you're like, man, I really want to get more involved, please reach out. We'd love to bring other organizations, businesses, companies, anyone on board. We're really trying to make this as collaborative and inclusive of a project as we possibly can. And if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I really want to get involved, but I don't live in LA, no problem. While we are launching City of Los Angeles, the TrashBlitz LA, we're also building a toolkit so that this can be ran anywhere in the world. Because we need this data and community-informed solutions to start happening now. And something like this that can happen quickly can get us to, again, target those low-hanging fruits and reduce that single-use packaging. So we're hoping that the information that we get from here will support mitigation strategies, whether it's policy, like supporting local ordinances, or maybe some of the larger statewide ordinances, like the plastic reduction bill or packaging reduction bill that's on the Senate floor right now, SB 54, or its mirror bill, AB 1080, and again, some of those local bills as well. So does anybody have any questions? I know you all want to get involved. I'm using some of the social psychology of it.
How are you recruiting students and younger people to help you with this?
We're asking our partners to share as well, and we've been reaching out to some schools as well. I think it's a great place for schools to get involved, and we actually have a plastic pollution curriculum that's tied to next-gen standards available on our website, by the way, if anybody's interested. And we want to send that out to schools as well. So we've created a little packet that takes out some of those lessons that can then culminate in TrashBlitz. So if anybody has schools, please definitely feel free to reach out directly at melissa@5gyres.org. We're just looking at discarded waste, but we actually did talk about when there is like a dumpster in place, taking a picture of that and seeing just to, the mitigation strategy might be as simple as putting a dumpster in place in a neighborhood that didn't have that infrastructure. So that's a really good question, yeah. We're trying to, so the protocols require you to walk 1 hour for as straight of a line as you can possibly go, capturing everything in your path that's in that street. So staying on the sidewalk and capturing everything that you see that's in there. So if you were to walk into an alley, then you would be capturing that as well. All right, well, I hope to see all of you all at the Solution Summit. We have some really amazing brains and would love to have you all there. Thank you all so much.
What a great program. And, I love the phrase that, others are starting to use too, which is radical collaboration. I've worked with the Five Gyres team for many years, and I love to see the work that they're doing in our community.